Hello guys, Jay here from GreenTargetAccounting.com, and today we will discuss the second part of this QBO Easy Bookkeeping series, and that is banking and its challenges. You think it's simple and easy? The answer? Yes, it's simple and easy, but if you are not careful enough, it's so easy to get things messed up and they are not that easy to fix. So, before you go adding transactions from your bank feeds, watch this video first and follow along so you can get familiarized and avoid making mistakes that can take hours and hours to fix. But before that, please hit subscribe and like button to support our channel. Okay, so we are back with banking and its challenges. And here are the topics that we need to discuss. Thinking bank and credit cards, categorizing transactions, how to do bank transfers and how to match them, how to create bank pools, review tab, categorize tab, include tab, and adding categories for the transactions, receipts tab, bank reconciliation, etc. So first, let's start with syncing bank and credit cards. Here on the QuickBooks Online Banking, we go here transactions, bank transactions, and then we can synchronize your bank and credit cards using this option, link account. And so in this window, you can choose which bank account do you have. You can choose the bank institution. For example, very common is Bank of America. And then you can connect your bank. By going here, you need to log in, enter your username and password, and then verify. And then you need to select the accounts that you want to sync with QuickBooks Online. And we can do that here because we are using the sample company. But in your own QuickBooks Online account, you will be able to do it. You can also connect PayPal. If your PayPal has only one currency, like USD, that's good to connect. But if your PayPal has multiple currencies, it's not ideal to connect it because it will download all the currencies into one page. And that's not really useful. If you cannot find your bank institution and you need to add your transactions, you can upload your transactions from this option, upload from file. We can add that as another step here, uploading bank transactions. So if you need to upload bank transactions, for example, if your bank account is closed already and you only have your bank statements and transactions, you can upload it here. Or in rare cases, QuickBooks Online don't support your bank, so you can upload the transactions manually. So the format that we can use in order to upload your transactions needs to contain 3 columns, and that is date, memo or description, and amount. And be sure to save it on .csv format. For example, if you want to save this transaction that you need to upload on QuickBooks Online, you need to select File, Save As, and then select the format here as comma delimited CSV. And that will be this one. And then when you upload, you can click Upload from File, select Files, and then go to Book 1, the one that we save, and then Continue, and then select a bank account that you want to upload the transactions to. And it says you can upload a file in sample company, but this is the process. Just follow the process in your QuickBooks Online account, select the bank account that you want to upload into, select the transactions that you want to upload. It will go here when it's uploaded. Okay, next is categorizing transactions. When you are categorizing transactions, my advice is for you to sort by description, so you will find transactions easier that are related to each other, similar description. Sample this one pop-ups here and it says A1 rental, A1 rental, books by Beshi, books by Beshi, and those are similar transactions. It will make it easier for you to categorize them when they are arranged by description. So when you categorize transaction, make sure what nature of the transaction you are categorizing. For example, A1 rental. A1 rental is heavy equipment rentals. It looks like these are equipment rentals and not just office rentals. So be sure to put the vendor name, A1 rental. Add the new vendor. As you can see, we already have equipment rental here, so use that and click add. That's how simple it is categorizing transactions to the bank feeds. So one of the common mistakes is if you don't put your vendor name, That's wrong. So always put the vendor name because it helps organize transactions by vendor, and that's very helpful when you review something later. Another common mistake in categorization is when QuickBooks Online suggests a category and it's not correct and you should not follow it. For example, if Books by Beshi is a transaction here and then QuickBooks Online suggests category like office supplies, and you know that this is not office supplies, or maybe you don't know, so you need to confirm. So don't trust easily what QuickBooks Online automatically shows here, because sometimes the vendor name is wrong, category is wrong, and if you just click add, then you put a wrong category or wrong information in QuickBooks. For example, uncategorized income, if it is a deposit, doesn't mean that it is always an income. Sometimes expenses get refunded and then you receive a deposit. And then after that, how do we do bank transfers and how to match them? So bank transfers are transfers from one account to another account. For example, if you do a bank transfer, new transfer from checking account going to the savings account, and the transfer is $5,000. Example date is May 20. Memo checking the savings monthly. If you are transferring funds from your checking to your savings account on monthly basis, okay, so the balance is 401, so it's not enough. So let's just make it a smaller, like 200. Save and close. So if you create the bank transfer manually or you add it from the checking account to savings account, then what you need to do is to make sure that you do not duplicate the bank transfer. So when it comes to your checking account bank feeds, you already created the bank transfer, just match it. And on the savings bank feeds, you also need to match it. If you did not create the bank transfer and you are doing it here on the bank feeds, you need to do a transfer on the source account. That's what I do. So I will not be confused if I have already created it or not. So create it always from the source account. Let's assume this one is a bank transfer. So we record as a transfer. If you record it as transfer, the information is quite limited. You only have transferred to and then memo here. If you want to add more details with your transfer, usually you can use categorize. So you can add more details and it's easier to edit later on if you need something to change. If you're confident transfer is already enough, so let's just do it from here. So you click the savings account, put a memo, monthly savings deposit, and then when you click add, we'll go inside QuickBooks Online. For the sake of example, let's just do this one as a transfer from checking to savings. When you go to the bank register, you will be able to see that transfer went to the savings account. This one is the transfer and this is the checking account. If you go to savings account, you will also see the transfer here. Money to savings. Oh, this is another one from April 29th. And we do May 19th. Okay. And if you go back to banking, very important here for you not to duplicate the transfer. Go to savings account and then just match the bank transfer. Example, this one is a transfer for the last month, right? So let's just match it here and do not add it as a new transfer. Usually bank transfers will come with a description for the last four digits of the account. For example, in checking account, it will say transferred to the last four digits of the savings account. And in the savings bank feeds, it will say transfer from checking and then last four digits account. So you have a clue where it came from, where did it go. So that's bank transfers. A common mistake with bank transfers is that when you add bank transfer from the source account and you add it again on the destination account, then it will be duplicated. Or if you use a bank rule and then you add the transaction from the bank rule on the checking account and then another bank rule on the savings account, then the bank rule will auto add it and then it will be duplicated. So be careful using bank rules because bank rules can automate transactions, and for bank transfers, it's not good to automate it because you may duplicate the transaction unknowingly. For payment of MasterCard, previously it is also a bank transfer, but now it appears as payment of credit cards. For example, if the credit card was paid by the checking account, then we can categorize the payment. Let's assume this one is the credit card payment. You should record as credit card payment by clicking this button. Then just choose the credit card that you are paying. So you can just fill out your credit card account here and then leave this blank, or put something like the bank institution where your credit card is coming from. So how to create bank rules in banking? You can go to bank rules. It's another tab, and then create new rule. For common transactions, you can automate the category, and you can automate the payee. You can also automate other things like product or service. You can automate taxes here. If you have taxes in your QuickBooks, you can also automate the taxes here per vendor. And we can replace the bank memo to a more understandable one and also keep the existing one. I usually don't put the place memo, but if you need to use that, there's an option. So let's go here on the bank page and create rule. So let's find something that is an expense instead. Let's start from here. So create a rule, then add a condition. We added too much. So it should be less than 100. Then the name is Books by Beshi. Then we can select all, because all bank account payments related to Books Beshi will apply. Test rule will apply to 2 currently unreviewed transactions. So let's set it as bookkeeping and pay Books by Beshi, and then we can automate it. But we want to separate transactions by amount. So less than 100 is bookkeeping, and then if it's more than 100, it will be accounting. Okay, we can do that. If Books by Beshi is providing 2 kinds of services, for example, this one is 55, this one is 75. Okay, let's make the bank rule exact so it will be easier to distinguish. For example, if the 55 is bookkeeping, we should put here equals 50. Books by Beshi bookkeeping, okay? And then test rule applies to one transaction and we can automate it and it will go there. And then another one, 75 is accounting. So let's make a rule out of that. And Books by Beshi accounting. So usually you can just use one criteria, but if you want to use 2 criteria because it means that the vendor is providing different services and it's differentiated by amount, then we can do 2 bank rules for that vendor. Okay, so we need to use the amount and then put 75 here and then test rule, and it applies to one transaction right now. So the 75 ones are for accounting. Let's assume that. So let's add accounting here, and we already have accounting category, and we can auto add. Okay, so if we go to vendor Books by Beshi, we will find different categories, and that is bookkeeping and accounting based on the amount that we set. So here's the accounting and here's the bookkeeping. So 75 is for accounting and bookkeeping is for 55. So that's how you make bank rules and how to make different criteria to distinguish transactions. Okay, so on the bank feeds you have 3 tabs, and that is for review. Those are the transactions that are not yet inside QuickBooks Online and you need to review and add them. Categorize are transactions that are already inside QuickBooks Online and you can edit from here the category if you want, and you can edit the pay if you want, and then you can undo it to put it back on the bank feeds. Okay, so undo means delete it in QuickBooks Online and put it back on the bank feeds. And here is the excluded tab. If a transaction is not valid or duplicated and you need to exclude it, just select your transaction and click exclude and it will go here. And later on, if you see that it is a valid transaction, then you can undo and it will come back to the Pro Review tab. When it comes to adding categories for each transactions, you do it usually from here and then add new account. For example, if we need to add office software, e-commerce software, you need to know the type and the detail type of the expense or account that you are adding. So for example, e-commerce software, let's put it as office general admin and click save. And then we can use now the category. And then if you have receipts, manual receipts or digital receipts, you can upload them here and then do the categorization from here or match it to a transaction that is already inside QuickBooks Online. The receipt will get attached to the transaction. For bank reconciliation, we need to access it on the next tab, click reconcile, and then get started. Here on the reconciliation window, you need to select the bank account that you want to reconcile. For example, if you want to reconcile checking account, and then you need to input the ending balance, the ending date, and then start reconciling. If the ending balance is 4,500, the ending date is April 30. So you can start reconciling, even if not all transactions are added yet. But you cannot finish it because the transactions are still on the bank feeds. So ideally, you will do the bank reconciliation when all transactions from the bank feeds are already added. But sometimes there are missing transactions that you need to manually upload, and you will find it out when you do the bank reconciliation. For bank reconciliation, you just first select them all and see if it will balance. And if there's a disbalance, then unclick them all, and then you compare it with the bank statement and then select them one by one here. But if your record is clean and you're doing records on a regular basis, usually QuickBooks Online will already balance it because the transactions are complete. But if your books is not that clean, or there are duplicates or missing transactions, then it will not be balanced, and you need to manually select the transactions that are valid, then upload what's missing, delete what is a duplicate, and then clean it up and then reconcile. So when all things are done and when all transactions are complete, it will become 0 here, so the difference should be 0. And then when it's 0, you hit finish now, and then it will be reconciled. So for the sake of demonstration, let's just reconcile it by getting the ending balance that will make it reconcile. Example 4,515.4. Let's try that. Okay, when you click all the transactions from the bank statement and they are already here, check on the QuickBooks Online bank reconciliation, then it will become 0 difference, and you click finish now. And you reconcile the bank account. And so it will show here the last reconciliation date, and then history by account you can access from here, and you can undo the transaction. If you are an accountant of the QuickBooks Online account, you can click undo here and then redo the reconciliation. And that's it for the reconciliation. Let's move to common mistakes and to some other things related to banking. For example, some bank accounts will have an option here to download their statements because they're already sending statements to QuickBooks Online. You just need to download that statement and then reconcile. It will be great if all banks and credit cards will do that, but as of now, only a few of them do this. Other common mistakes with regards to banking, we have already discussed QuickBooks Online AI makes wrong guess, wrong vendor name, wrong category, so don't trust it easily. And you need to confirm and research the type of transaction, the type of vendor that you are categorizing. QBO usually suggests bank rules and is usually messy, and you need to edit it and make it a good one. Do not auto-create bank rules based on the suggestion of QuickBooks Online because it's messy, and if you do that, the results will not be good. So it can mess up your books, can mess up the categories, when the vendor names, and bank rule section will be crowded with auto-generated bank rules that are not good to see and they don't work well. So better create a good bank rule. So for example, this one, if you add something and then QuickBooks Online notice that it's always the same category, it will pop up a recommendation. Let's try if we can do it like this. A1 rental. So if QuickBooks Online will pop up that to create bank rule. Okay. Equipment rental, and then equipment rental, and then did not pop up. Okay, so it did not pop up, but if it happens to your bank feeds, it pop up, then edit the bank rule. Do not accept it as plainly as it is. Edit it and make it a good one. So when making bank rules, common mistake is to do it on auto add, and you did not review carefully what is the right category and vendor of the bank rule and the transactions. And then when you auto add all the transactions, if you have hundreds of them or thousands of them on the bank feeds, it gets added to QuickBooks Online. The result is a wrong transaction or a wrong category category or wrong setup, then it can mess up your books pretty fast. Sometimes it's hard to clean up, it's hard to fix it. So be careful not to auto add transactions by using bank rules automation unless you are 100% sure that you set it up correct and the category is correct, the vendor is correct, in order to avoid messing up your books. So common mistake I observed is adding transactions without vendors. So I highly recommend you add vendors because when the transactions have vendors, you can easily see the transactions by vendor here on the vendor section, and you can easily review if you put the correct category per vendor. When it comes, you want to correct something, you can easily find it here on the vendor section. For example, this one. If all of the change gas and oil should be automobile fuel, something like maintenance and repair is here, and it's a wrong category, then you can easily find it and change it. But if you did not put the vendor name, then it will not be organized here. So I highly recommend that you always put the vendor name when you categorize transactions. So adding bank transfer twice, people usually do that if they add transaction on both the source and destination account or use bank rules that automate adding the transactions. Matching the wrong transactions, this happens also. If you have transactions that has the same amounts, it's easy to match it to the wrong transaction if you are not careful. For example, the transaction has two matches, and then the correct one is the bill payment because you created a bill and then apply a bill, and then the transaction should be matched to the bill payment and not to the expense. Then you should select that. If you just go here, click here, and then click here, and then you click here on match, and then QBO automatically select this one, and you just click match, and then you match it to the wrong transaction. Wrong opening balance. So when you connect your bank accounts, QuickBooks Online will download the as of today balance and it will put it as beginning balance on the bank register. And when you do the bank reconciliation, then the beginning balance is different from your bank statement. So you need to edit it and then correct the amount based on the bank statement. So when you already done and then later on you have deleted the transaction from the reconciled account, then the balance here will be this balance. That's what I call it. So for example, let's go to bank register and then filter it by reconcile. These are the transactions that are already reconciled. And sometimes we decided to delete something. This one, delete it, and then we forgot that it's the correct one, so we add it again, but it's not reconciled anymore. So let's go to reconciliation and it will say here, your beginning balance is off by 55. We can help you fix it. So click that, then it will show that you have deleted the transaction. And what we need to do to correct this, go here on the bank register and then find the transaction that you have deleted if you have added it back. So we have not added it back, so let's go back to banking and wait. So when the bank rules is automated, when you are deleting a transaction that is involved with automated rules, you need to disable the automation first so that it will not be added back by QuickBooks Online. Example, the 55, if it keeps adding back and you want to remove it, and then you need to disable it first. This one. So let's find 55 and then let's refresh this and see if it auto added. So it disappeared here and I assume that it will be here on the register. So now we can fix the disbalance. What we can do to fix the disbalance, let's find 55. And then what we need to do is put this back on reconcile status by clicking this button and change it to R. Click yes. This one, refresh it, and it's corrected now. So it's balanced again. You can do the reconciliation for the next month. And that's it. That concludes banking in QuickBooks Online, the common mistakes, its challenges, and what are the precautions that we can do in order to avoid the common mistakes that we have discussed. So Jay here again from greentargetaccounting.com. If you find our videos helpful, please hit like and subscribe to our channel.